Casa Cuevas. I am a fourth-generation tobacconist. Family started in the tobacco business back in Cuba. My great-grandfather emigrated from Spain, went to Pinar del Rio, Cuba, started growing tobacco. My grandfather took over the business, grew it, expanded with it, and eventually 1959 occurs, things get confiscated, and we all flee. Get to the States, late 60s, and my father starts a different business, and then he and his brother decide in the mid 80s that they're going to start a factory in the Dominican Republic. So that began, and my father still stayed in the States doing what he was doing, but he was financing that operation. I grew up around tobacco and spending my summers at the factory that they owned throughout all that time. The factory grew, and then the boom hit, and we had some great people come through there. Made a lot of different cigars for a lot of different brands. And then as time went on, my father and my uncle went their separate ways, and a decade ago I joined my dad in this venture, an only child, and I didn't want what the family had done for essentially at that point 3 generations to go by the wayside. So I joined my father, and we started a factory together, landed some pretty big important clients, and the factory grew once again. Then in 2016, I had always wanted at this point to launch a brand, just didn't know how because I wasn't aware of how to sell cigars. You can have the greatest cigar in the world, if you don't have good marketing strategy, good salespeople, it'll just get lost. But the FDA forced me into launching it then or never launching it at all. So we did, we launched. I was able to find Gabriel Alvarez, my sales director now, who'd had experience with a couple of other brands. He moves us in and moved us up, and we were on our way, and so we launched the Casa Cuevas cigar. This was launched 2 years and 3 months ago, and I know I mentioned 2016, but we delayed the actual launch to April of 2017. Had a couple of obstacles that came in, and we had to wait that long, but it was well worth it. So we launched this in 3 different blends, an Habano, a Connecticut, and a Maduro. And my dad and I were thrilled with how the blends had come out. But the back of our minds, at one point in the early 2000s, my dad and uncle had a brand called Cuevas Habanos. And that family lineage, I still wanted to keep going. So waited a couple of years, and this year I'm proud to announce that we have Cuevas Reserva. We changed the name from Habanos to Reserva because I wasn't able to trademark the word Habanos. And this is essentially an homage, if you will, to the only brand, or an attempt at a brand, that my dad had been a part of. Extremely proud of the line. It's a grandfather's product. It's available in Connecticut and in Maduro. The sizes are going to be very classic sizes. There were no 60s back, 60 gauges. Back in the early 2000s, there's very few, so you're never going to find a 60 in this lineup, for example. You notice that we have a torpedo because they were big back then, and even the packaging kind of harkens back to another time. And if we look over here, even the seals that we have on the sides of the picture that you see in the middle with the tobacco and tobacco house, they represent parts of my family, my history. Spain is at the top, where my great-grandfather was born. Cuba, where I'm from, my dad's from. Dominican Republic is where the factory's at. Another U.S. seal, because my son is joining us in this venture. The 5 stars represent now the 5th generation, including my son. So we're a family that's been in tobacco for a very long time, and I'm proud to say we're continuing that as we go along. And then finally, we have the sledgehammer, La Mandaria, and this came about.
No, I mean, it's hard now to get out of
that he purchased a warehouse late last year, and in February, a month into it, we were broken into and wiped out. And what the thieves did is they used a sledgehammer to break through the wall. That's actually a picture of the breakage. They broke through the wall and into the humidor, which was right up against the wall. They wiped us out. And I remember calling my father and saying, can you believe this has just wiped us out? and my dad steadfastly said, listen, we'll get back on our feet. We're going to be all right. And sure enough, this was born as a pun on the principal tool you used against us. But at the same time, it sort of shows the family strength and the resilience that we have, and certainly the resilience that my dad has in moving forward. It's our most full-bodied cigar. Very proud of the product. So here we are.